Welcome, everyone, to Insights into the Weekly Haftorah. This week's Torah portion is Beshalach. This is the whole story of Israel actually leaving Egypt. But after just a few days, the Egyptians kind of have amnesia and forget what just happened to them. And they chase after Israel. They surround them by the Reed Sea, and the miracle happens. The sea splits. Israel goes through. The Egyptians chase after them. The sea closes on them. And then Israel sings a song. And this is one of the 10 archetypal songs in creation, in the Tanakh. 9 of them have been sung. We're waiting for the 10th one when Mashiach comes. So we would naturally expect that the Haftorah is going to be one of the other archetypal songs. That would be our assumption here, and that is exactly what it is. It is a song of Devorah. Now, many of you watching followed our learning the book of Judges. So only maybe a month ago, we went through the whole story of Devorah and the song that she sang. So I'm not going to go back over it, but what I am going to try to do is pick out certain parts of the song and connect the song of Devorah to the song of the sea. Because another song could have been chosen, but it was Devorah, and the reasons are quite obvious. But before I say that, I have to point out that this is another case where Ashkenazim and Sephardim have different traditions. But here, in just recently, we saw that there were 2 different Haftorahs completely between Ashkenazim and Sephardim, which is fairly rare. But here, Ashkenazim tell the entire story of Devorah and the song that she sang. It makes it one of the longest, if not the longest, Haftorah in the entire cycle. Sephardim only begin at the song. They don't tell the whole story of Devorah and the war that Devorah and Barak lead that led to the song. That's when they fight against Sisera. Devorah is the judge in Israel. Barak is the main general. But together, they fight this war against Sisera. One of the heroines is Yael, who actually is able to kill Sisera. And then, after all of these events, so Devorah sings her song. But what's very interesting, and that's where the Sephardim begin. They just begin with the song. But here it begins, V'tasher Devorah uBarak ben Avinoam biyomahu lemor. Now this is very, very interesting because universally we always attribute the song to Devorah. And yet it says that both of them sang. Both of them sang. It says Devorah and Barak. They both sang this song, and yet it's in the singular, V'tasher. And so here, it's just an interesting thing is that most people don't even pay attention to this. But it was actually a couple singing, 2 people singing the song. Some say she was married to Barak. Others say not necessarily. But that's who sings the song. So why this song? So first of all, it was considered somewhat miraculous how Israel was able to defeat Sisera. Sisera had, I believe, 900 metal chariots. Now, that's also mentioned in the up to the miracle at the sea, that Pharaoh chases them with 600 chariots. But here, Sisera had 900. And they had been oppressed by Sisera. And here, in both cases, the Egyptians were destroyed, and the whole army of Sisera and Sisera himself were destroyed. So here's a deep connection. Another connection is that in this story, the women play a very, very important part. Devorah is the main character here, but also in the song that she sings, she gives tremendous credit to Yael. So that is also connected to the portion, because after it says Moshe v'nei Yisrael, they all sang the song. So it says that Miriam, she gathered all the women together, and with instruments and dancing, they also sang the song. This is a very, very inspirational for women. This idea of Miriam getting all the women together with instruments. It doesn't mention instruments by Moshe v'nei Yisrael. So here we see there are many, many connections. First of all, they're both songs. They're both the archetypal songs. Women play a very, very important part. In fact, we have the saying, "B'schut nashim tzidkaniyot," we came out of Egypt. On the merit of righteous women, we came out of Egypt. And I believe we learned this, but I'm going to repeat it, that one of the roots of the word Miriam, in it is the word Yam, the sea. And it's literally Mar Yam, the bitter sea. And this is taken from when Moshe is put in an ark, and on the Nile, it says that Miriam went and was like watching what would happen here. And when the daughter of Pharaoh brings this little ark to her, so Miriam comes and says, "Oh, would you like someone to nurse this baby?" And the daughter of Pharaoh says yes, and so she went and got her mother, Yocheved. And so she was, I believe, 6 years old at the time, but she was the one who told her parents that you're going to give birth to the Redeemer of Israel. But here she's standing there seeing her little brother being taken into the house of Pharaoh. And so that was the Mar Yam. She had to wait 80 years to see the fulfillment of her prophecy. So at the Yam, now it's Ram, the word Mar, Miriam, Mar Yam, reversed is Ram, the elevated sea. And that's why she is singing. She sees the full redemption that she had a prophecy for in the beginning. And in fact, when it says that she gets all the women together, it says Miriam the prophetess. It's mentioned specifically that she was a prophetess because of her prophecy. So what else can we see in this story? So just give me 1 second. So here in the song also you have something very, very interesting that you really only see in some of the songs. There's a lot of rebuke in this song. She rebukes all the different tribes of Israel who didn't come and participate in the war. Because this was a war to free all of Israel. But not all of the tribes responded. So she heaps praise on those who did respond, and she rebukes the ones that didn't. And then she says, Min shamayim nilchamu hakochavim mimislotam nilchamu im Sisra. She says an amazing thing. She says, from heaven, they fought. The stars in their pathways, they fought with Sisera. So she's saying that it wasn't just our armies that defeated Sisera. Even the Mazalot, even the heavenly hosts were aligned with us to fight against Sisera. And then she says, cursed is Maroz, Amar Malach Hashem, Arur Yoshveha, Ki lo ba'u be'ezrat Hashem le'ezrat Hashem be'giborim. So she curses out this place called Maroz and says, in the name of an angel of God, you are doubly cursed, all of the inhabitants of this place, because you didn't come and help God along with all of the Giborim to defeat Sisera. So the literal meaning is that there is this place, Maroz, that she felt should have come and helped defeat Sisera. But in connection with what it says, that from heaven they fought with Israel against Sisera, that she's referring to a star or a planet and their inhabitants who didn't come from heaven to help. And some like, whoa, what is Devorah saying here? So there's like a hint here. If anyone wants a hint, is there anyone else out there that this might be taken as a hint or an allusion? But here she quotes an angel of God. So it could be that the inhabitants of this place are certain angels that didn't come to assist Israel in defeating Sisera. It's just a very, very tantalizing verse here, what she is trying to say. So here we see many connections between why this song and not maybe one of the other archetypal songs were chosen, because there's so many parallels with the women in both of them. And I should mention that she mentions water a number of times. So here it says in the 19th verse of, by the way, we're in the fourth and fifth chapters of Judges. So here she says, one second, kings came and fought with Sisera. Then the kings of Canaan fought from Tanakh until the waters of Megiddo without accepting monetary gain. So here, again, waters are brought in here. And here also, then it says, then the horses' heels were pounded by the galloping of their mighty riders. So in the Song of the Sea, it mentions how the horses and the chariots were overturned in the sea. We don't have time to go through every verse, but there are many, many parallels that I'm trying to point out here between this song and the Song of the Sea. And it ends, very interestingly, by saying, it says, Ken yavdu kol oivecha Hashem, May it be, God, that all of your enemies are destroyed. Ve'ohavav kitseta shemesh begavurato. But those who love you, they should be like the sun, like going out in the morning to run its course. And then it says, V'tishkot ha'oretz arba'im shana. And the land was quiet for 40 years. So this we've discussed before, this idea that sometimes to have peace, you have to defeat your enemy. If you don't defeat your enemy, it just comes back to haunt you over and over and over again. And we saw throughout the book of Judges, when an enemy was totally defeated, there'd be a whole generation of peace. And here it ends with 40 years of peace. But I want to end with one other thing, which I think is so relevant. In the 5th chapter and the 7th verse of Judges, it says, I'm just reading the second part. It says, Ad shikamti Devorah, shikamti aim b'Yisrael. And it was only when I, Devorah, got up, a mother in Israel. And this is very significant that she calls herself a mother in Israel. She doesn't call herself the judge, even though the book of Judges calls her a judge. And she's obviously a warrior. She leads the war against Sisera. But here she defines herself as a mother in Israel. And so I want to connect this to events of the last week. Last Thursday, one of the hostages came out of Gaza. Her name is Agam Berger. She was supposed to have come out the previous Shabbat. She was one of the women soldiers who were on guard that night. They were like lookouts. That was their job. They were right on the border. And 5 of them were captured. Many of them were killed and worse. But she and 4 others were captured. The other 4 came out on the previous Shabbos. And Agam Berger's mother, she apparently she's been very, very active and speaking all over the world in trying to get all of the captives back, including her daughter. And she made a statement that kind of was indicative. Is she said, my daughter was taken captive because she was Jewish. If you want to do something, be more Jewish. That was her message to the whole world, to the Jewish world. So I'm mentioning this because here, on the very week that we're reading the Haftorah, and Devorah is saying, I got up, a mother in Israel. Here we have the story, and when the 4 hostages came out, and her mother's, her name is Meirav, she thought that her daughter would come out on Shabbos, and she pleaded with the Israeli public, if she comes out on Shabbos, it's pikuach nefesh. Please don't take pictures. Please don't desecrate the Shabbat more than is needed to get her out of there. And it turns out that she didn't come out on Shabbos. Hashgacha pratit, she did not come out on Shabbos. She came out on Thursday when we say Hallel. And my wife pointed out to me that in Hallel, we praise God because he gave us a gam mayim, that from the rock he gave us a spring of water. Well, that's her name, Agam, is this idea of a spring of water. So on the very day that she came out, we were praising God, who out of a rock, out of this terrible, terrible situation, came a spring of water. Agam Berger came home. And the four that came out before, so they were interviewed during the week, and they said Agam kept Shabbos the entire time in captivity. She would not eat any meat, even though I can imagine how many few times they were fed meat. She would not eat the meat, and she would not eat the bread during Pesach. And that might have been the only thing they had to eat on Pesach. There are many, many stories that they were barely fed. All of them were barely fed. So I wanted to connect us with great merit for the righteous women of Israel. Here is a song of Devorah, that is the Haftorah. Miriam leading the women at the sea in song. And here we have Merav Berger, a mother in Israel, and her daughter, Agam Berger, representing the very, very best. And when Agam came out, her first statement was, I'm paraphrasing, I went into captivity with faith, and I came out with faith. Wow. Wow, what a merit for all of Israel. May we see all of the hostages come home safe and very, very soon.